Hey everyone, this is Liz Brassaw from Preflight, Chief Flight Instructor, and today I'm going to take you through the Piper Archer Preflight. And this is the checklist you'll need. The first item of the interior cabin check is to make sure that the pilot's operating handbook is present. We also want to check that we have the G1000 reference guide for this aircraft, since it is G1000 equipped. And there's a few other documents inside of the pilot's operating handbook and aircraft that we want to make sure are present. So let's go through those. The first one would be your standard airworthiness certificate. This one's required to be present and on display. In the Piper Archer, they put it on display right behind the pilot's seat, like near the floor on the back seat. Next, after the airworthiness certificate, we want to make sure we have a registration present for the aircraft. This one is actually an application for a registration, which is acceptable until you receive your permanent registration. The last item to check for is the weight and balance. That's usually inside the pilot's operating handbook and near the back. Here you can see we've got the equipment list, the empty weight and moment information for the aircraft. After verifying the documents, the next item to inspect is that all electrical equipment is in the off position. After electrical equipment, the next item to inspect is the mixture handle. It should be all the way at the idle cutoff position. After inspecting the mixture idle cutoff position, we're now going to check the magnetos and verify they're in the off position. After verifying the magnetos are off, we'll turn the battery master switch on. After turning on the battery master switch and letting the PFD load, we're going to turn on the pitot heat. We'll verify that the pitot heat CAS message is not shown. After checking the pitot heat CAS message, we're going to check the left and right fuel tank quantities. Today we've got 23 and 24 gallons in each. After checking fuel quantity, we'll now check the exterior lights. So we're going to turn landing light on, nav lights on. I'm going to switch the strobes lights from off to on. After checking the exterior lights, the next item we'll check is the stall warning horn. So we're going to activate that outside on the leading edge, and then inside I should be able to hear the aural warning sound.
Stall, 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 stall.
After checking the stall warning horn, we're now going to turn off the exterior lights. I'm going to change this one to the off position. We'll do nav lights off, landing light off. After turning off the exterior lights, next is to turn the pitot heat off. We should see the pitot heat CAS message now illuminate. Next, battery master switch will come off. Next, we're going to lower the flaps. So I'm going to grab the handle and I'm going to change the position to fully deployed. Okay, so I'm going to lower the flaps. After lowering the flaps, the next thing we'll do is drain the Pitostatic system. So we've got two drains located here, and I'm just going to press each one to drain it. After draining the Pitostatic system, we're going to check that the trim is in the neutral position. This aircraft has rudder trim, so we're going to make sure that the indicator is aligned on the center line to be neutral, and then we'll check our elevator trim. Located here in between the seats, again, I'm going to make sure the indicator is next to the N for the neutral position. If it was not, we would just adjust the wheel to move the indicator. After verifying the trims in the neutral position, I'm going to verify that alternate air is in the closed position. After verifying the alternate air is closed, the last item on the interior check is verifying that the alternate static is in the closed position. That should be pointing towards your co-pilot or your passenger there instead of pointing towards you. So this just turns 90 degrees like that. So we want to make sure it's here in the off position. Now that we've finished the interior cabin check, we're going to move to the exterior portion of the pre-flight. The very first item is baggage door check. So I'm going to come and inspect that the baggage door is fully closed and latched. I want that to be not an issue in flight, that it doesn't come open or be unsecure. Now that we've made sure the baggage door is secure, we're going to move on to the right wing flap. We're checking the overall condition and security of the flap. So I'm going to inspect it above and the whole surface here. Pay special attention to the linkage here for the flap for overall condition and wear. Now that we've checked the flap, we're going to check the right aileron. So again, I'm looking at overall condition, and then we're also going to check freedom of movement. So I'm going to come right here where there's a rivet line here on this flap to move it. I don't want to grab where there's the unsupported metal. So I'm going to grab the rivet line. I'm going to move it up. I'm going to check that the other aileron goes down. This one's up. There's no binding or resistance in the movement, and that it goes down. I'm looking at each of the hinges, and it all looks excellent. So here at the back of the flap and the aileron, we have what's called a static wick. I want to check that these are present and not damaged. You could see if they were broken or in disrepair. Now that we've pre-flighted the right aileron, we're going to come around to the wing tip. I'm going to check overall condition and really want to spend some time inspecting the lights as I come around. We already checked for their operation. Now I'm checking overall condition. We'll check this one. After inspecting the lights, we're going to come inspect the leading edge of the aircraft. So I'm checking for overall condition, dents, damage, and then we'll come to the wing tie down and make sure that it's removed. After removing the wing tie down, the next item is checking the fuel quantity. So I'm going to open the fuel cap here, check the quantity visually, and then replace the cap and secure it. After checking the fuel quantity, the next item on our checklist is to sump the fuel drain. So let's do that next. So it's located right here by the main wheel. I'm going to take my fuel sample cup and take a good sample. So I'm inspecting the overall color and cleanliness of the fuel. This looks like a wonderful sample, and then I'll dispose of it. Now that we've sampled the fuel, the next item we'll check while we're down here is the right main gear. So I'm looking at the tire and the overall condition of the wear indicators, are there flat spots, and I'm also going to be checking the strut. So here I want to see that this silver portion of the strut's not fully compressed. I'm going to be looking at the brake pad, overall condition. So then I'd come to the back and inspect the hydraulic line and overall security and condition of the connectors. After checking the main gear, the next item we're going to check is the engine oil level and dipstick. So I'm going to open the oil door here. I'll remove the dipstick and check the overall oil quantity. For normal operation, we want about 6 quarts of oil. Then I'll replace the dipstick. You want to make sure you have it secured but not over tightened, and we'll close the oil door. After checking the engine oil, the next item we're going to inspect is the propeller and the spinner. So I'm going to come look along the leading edge of each one of these propeller blades for nicks or damage. I'm going to look at the overall security of the spinner. I want to make sure that that's properly fastened, and look at the leading edge of this other propeller blade. Again, damage, nicks, anything out of the ordinary. After that, we're going to check the engine air inlets. So that's what we've got located here behind each propeller blade. So I'm just going to peek inside and inspect overall condition. Is it clear for the air to come in and cool the engine? And can I spot any abnormalities here with the initial inspection of the engine? After the engine air inlets, we're going to inspect the nose gear and the nose tire. So I'm going to look at the overall tire and the wear indicators, overall condition. Then I'm going to be inspecting the strut. Is it secure? Does it look like it's in good condition? And I don't want to see this strut fully compressed. And the silver portion we want to make sure is not fully hidden, or that the strut's not fully compressed. So as I come around, I'm going to look at the overall condition of the cowling or the covering here on the engine. Again, overall security and condition. And then the next item we'll check is the nose fuel sump. So next we'll take a sample from our nose fuel drain. So I'm going to take my sample cup, make sure I get a sizable sample of the fuel there, and inspect the color and overall clarity of the fuel. I'm looking for water or debris. One other item of note is I want to look at the combustion air intake and make sure that it's not blocked. Now that we've finished the nose inspection, we're going to come around to the left main gear and fuel sample. So I'm going to again take a sample with my sample cup of the fuel from this fuel tank, and checking for the same things, overall color and clarity. We're looking for water, debris at present. While we're down low here, we're also going to inspect the left main gear after we take our fuel sample. So I'm going to look at the tire, overall condition, the wear indicators. I'll come look at the brake pad, the strut. Is it fully compressed, or does it look like it has good inflation? Then I'll also come behind and look at the hydraulic line and the overall condition and security of the strut. After checking the left main strut, we're going to come check the left main fuel tank quantity. So we'll open up the fuel tank here, visually check the quantity, and then we'll replace and secure the cap. When securing the fuel cap, you want to make sure that it's in line with the relative wind. You don't want to have it left at an angle or partially secured. Then we'll remove the left wing tie down. After removing the wing tie down, the next item we're going to inspect is the pitot mast. So I want to make sure that it's not blocked. If you had a cover, you've removed it, and the overall condition and security is good. After inspecting the pitot mast, the next item we're going to inspect is the leading edge of the wing. So I'm looking at the overall condition, are there any dents or damage, and we'll come to the wingtip lights and inspect for overall condition and security. After the left wingtip and lights, the next item we're going to inspect is the left aileron. So again, I'm going to grab it right here on the rivet line, and I'm going to check freedom of movement, that the direction is also correct. When this aileron's up, the other aileron is down, and that again, I have freedom of movement as I move it into the downwards position. I'll inspect each one of the hinges and the overall condition. After the left aileron, we're going to inspect the left flap. So I'm going to come inspect the overall condition and security. I'll give special emphasis to the connecting rod for the flap for, again, overall condition and wear. After inspecting the right flap, the next items we're going to check are the antennas. So we'll start here where I've got the comm antenna. Ahead of that, we're going to have two GPS antennas. To the rear, we have the ELT antenna. And at the top of the tail, we have our nav radio antennas. Okay, after checking the antennas above the aircraft, we'll now come below and check the antennas on the lower side. So here we have the COM 2 antenna. At the back of the tail, we have the marker beacon antenna. And the last antenna to inspect is the transponder antenna. After checking the antennas, the next item to inspect is the fuselage. So I'm going to be looking at the overall condition of the body of the aircraft here. After inspecting the fuselage, the next item to check is the stabilator. So I'm going to look at the leading edge here for any damage, overall condition. I'll come around the tip and inspect the rear of the stabilator. The last part of the stabilator we want to inspect is the freedom of movement. So I'm going to grab here on the rivet line again, and I'm going to lift the stabilator up. It's already there. And I'm going to lower it and make sure that it's moving freely, no resistance or binding. It also gives me a chance to inspect the anti-servo tab here. So here in the center of my stabilator on the trailing edge is an anti-servo trim tab. So it's got both functions. You'll notice when I move it, it's deflecting even further in the same direction I moved the stabilator. That's the anti-servo function. And then I also can adjust it electrically or manually for a trim control in my elevator. After checking the anti-servo and trim tab, we're now going to check the vertical stabilizer and the rudder. This is a visual inspection. I'm not going to push on it or move it, but I do want to check the overall condition and security. It also gives me a chance to inspect the static wicks located here on the tail. The last item here on our exterior pre-flight is to remove the tail tie down if it was present. Another item to inspect while you're down here removing the tail tie down is in the interior of your tail, the overall connection and security for the stabilator. That completes our Piper Archer pre-flight. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got questions, leave us a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.